Can you see my screen? No, wait, I have not shared screen. Yeah. Okay, so for Kieran and Sherman, you just came in. We were just talking about how it is still important to have our tuition ongoing. Okay, even though your WA is over, but we are having a week break in June, so you can actually take a short break. Okay, but every lesson will be different in terms of like the components, the things we're going to talk about for each component. So I still, yes, I do feel like, you feel like you should relax after your WA and all. It's not just English. I'm sure you had like many subjects. But just take it positively, okay? It's something that something new that you can learn also. Okay, so we were just talking about analyzing a piece of expository in terms of like language and content. I think it's really important for you to know how you're actually being marked on. Okay, the process is this. Actually, back then when I was a teacher, I'm not sure whether I've shared with you. Basically, we will we'll mark papers. For example, if I'm in charge of Sec2 Express, all the papers in Sec2 Express, usually I will not be the one marking everything. I will have probably another one or two teacher marking alongside me, because one class there are about 30, 40 students, right? So maybe each of us take two classes. So we are supposed to mark like 80 scripts altogether, roughly, right? If I only have another teacher marking with me, means that each of us will mark 120 scripts around there during the marking period, right? So I suppose your teachers were busy marking last week, lah. Okay, just to give back your scripts. Then what's going to happen is that I will have like maybe 5 samples of what I feel is high band. And then we call it the Hamala, right? So high band, medium band, and low band. Okay. Then how we do moderation is that we will sit together. Of course, we are not comparing like 120 scripts with each other. We will compare those whom we deem as high band first. And then I'll basically give the teacher my point of view, like, okay, why do I feel like this student deserves a high band? Right? And then the teacher might agree with me, but the teacher might also argue with me, depending on how I, put it across for my students or for the students I'm marking. And your teachers usually don't mark their own classes. Okay, usually it's another marker from another class, just to be fair, right? So what happens is that if, let's say, we have disagreement on the scores, then we will have to come to a consensus, like, okay, I think this student, we should just -1 mark or -2 marks. Or I think that, you're awarding too low for that student, And if we still have this agreement, then we will bring it up to the HODs. Then the HODs will decide, right? So that's basically how the marking process is like. And I believe it's also the same for O-levels. Okay. When your scripts get to UK, they'll probably do the same. They will look at the standards and compare and do some moderation. But of course, they're not comparing like all the scripts. It's just a few. Okay, so moderation. So during the process of marking, of course, the teachers will also refer to this document, which is the marking scheme. I think the marking scheme is really important, and you need to know what you're marked on, so you will know how to tackle it and how to score well for it, right? So in this case, as you can see on the screen, this is the marking scheme for continuous writing, particularly for content. Okay. No, sorry, this is situation writing. Next one. Sit writing and continuous writing are different in terms of the marking scheme for content. Okay. Sit writing, situation writing is mainly on purpose, audience, context, and all. But for continuous writing, the content part, it's 10 marks. So it's about 30, right? So 10 marks goes to content, 20 marks goes to your language. And in terms of content, if let's say you want to score a high band, basically it's like band 4, band 5, high band, right? You will basically need to ensure that all the aspects are fully addressed and developed in detail, right? In fact, either fully or basically mostly addressed to get a high band. Okay, to get a medium band, it's like, borderline passing, 6 marks, basically it's just some development. And then of course, if you are a low band, basically you're only addressing some parts, and also hardly students get 0. Okay, we hardly award 0 unless you are not writing anything. Yeah, it's not easy to get 0, so please don't aim to get 0. But I think some students do struggle with content and Generally, most students fall under medium band. Yeah. So if you want to achieve high band, you need to push yourself a little bit more. Make sure that all the aspects are addressed. Okay. Now, in terms of language basically holds more marks. It's 20 out of the 30 marks in total, right? So you might think that organizing, like, how you organize your ideas, like thesis statement, topic sentences, all this falls under content, but actually they're not. Okay, in terms of organization of ideas, like how you make it more cohesive, it falls under language, because for a very simple reason, because if you want to make things cohesive, you need to use appropriate language. Things like, for example, connectors, using conjunctions, right, to make it coherent. And also sometimes certain phrases that you choose to use basically helps it to flow better. There's a transition there, right? So it's still, for the O-level marking scheme, they put it under language. That's why language is 20 marks. Yeah. So in terms of presentation of ideas across the whole of the response, effective use of your ambitious vocabulary, right? Vocabulary has to be extensive. Grammar, of course, by now you're Sec 2, I think grammar shouldn't be that much of a problem anymore, right? Punctuation, spelling shouldn't be that much of a problem, but mainly is the use of, you have to be using quite an array of like ambitious vocabulary, and also to create a vivid imagery in your reader's mind. Okay, so that's something that's really important if you want to score a high band. Okay, of course, a lot of students fall under 9 to 12 marks, right? Basically, it's the medium band. Coherent and some cohesion, vocabulary and grammar is sufficient to convey intended meaning. And grammar, punctuation, and spelling, by now, they're expecting it to be used quite accurately already, even though you're just a medium band. So to achieve a higher band, like band 4 or band 5, I think the key thing here is to be able to really coherently present your ideas, and also use of a lot of vivid language. Okay, so of course, most students don't, like I said, they hardly score 0 unless you're not writing anything. Okay, 1 mark to 4 marks also hardly. Some students do fail language part, probably because they wrote out of topic. Okay, if you write out of topic, there's no way your teachers can pass you. Okay, because for content, definitely they have to fail you, because your content is not matching with what the question is giving, right? The task is giving you. So basically, you do not address the task properly. So you will definitely fail content. But most of the time, if you write out of topic, teachers will also fail you in terms of language, because how am I going to mark your language when your content is not linked to the question? That means the language used has got nothing to do with the task as well. So most of the time, if you write out of the topic, you will fail your continuous writing. So it's really important not to write out of topic. Okay, always be very focused and be very clear about what the question is asking. So far, okay, everybody? Seems like all of you are behind the screen. Okay, hiding behind. But later on, I'll be asking some questions, just to make sure that you've been listening. Okay? Yeah? So are we clear with the marking scheme? Do you know what you're being marked on? Zojin, I only see a thumbs up from Zojin. Everybody else okay? Kabilan? Kiran? Kitming? Yes, okay, I see a thumbs up from Kiran as well. Good. Okay. Sherman, you fine? Good. Thank you so much. Okay, now so we're done with the marking scheme. So now, from a teacher's perspective, we are going to analyze a piece of writing from this student, okay, a random student. Yeah. So just bear in mind the marking scheme, right? Content and all, language. Okay, let's have a look at this compo. The topic. Okay, of course, firstly, when you're given a topic, always highlight keywords and also try to unpack what the question is about, because it's really important. That's the first step to take, right? If you're writing out of topic, like I said, you definitely fail your writing. Okay, so 3 things. So be very clear, we only want 3 things. So I guess for planning, I also don't recommend for you to plan for too long for your writing, because you only have 1 hour 50 minutes. for three components, right? Editing, situational writing, and continuous writing. So having three components to complete under 1 hour 50 minutes, I would think it's quite tight in terms of the timeline. Okay. So in this case, I think editing, you shouldn't be spending more than 10 minutes. Yeah. And you're left with 1 hour 40 minutes. 1 hour 40 minutes, I would think 40 minutes on sit writing and 1 hour on continuous. Now you have to be strategic about it because sit writing and continuous writing, each one is 30 marks. Doesn't mean you just anyhow do your sit writing, right? Because it's still, I mean, the weightage is the same as continuous writing. So sit writing, try to do it properly as well. And in fact, sit writing is relatively easier to score compared to continuous writing, right? This is all the components of your paper one. Okay, then for continuous writing, of course, you shouldn't be planning too much because you're only left with 1 hour to write. Okay, but that doesn't mean you don't do any planning. Okay, first planning step would be to analyze the question. Okay, and then you probably want to just briefly have a skeleton of what you're going to write about. That's all. Okay, some students really like write a draft. I don't think that's necessary. Like if you were to just write a draft first, it's just taking too much time. It's too time consuming. And some students do mind maps and all. I mean, simple ones still okay. You don't have to do like a comprehensive mind map for this. Okay, so maybe you just want to do like intro. Okay, maybe intro, you want to think of like what methods to use. Maybe I should use like a rhetorical question, or should I use like a hypothetical situation? Should I use a quote? Just have a quick idea. Okay, what are the methods that I can use for intro? Right? And then you just brainstorm on it a bit and then decide on one that you think is most suitable. Okay. Hold on, I have a message. Who is that? Oh, yes. Go ahead, Kit-Ming. Okay, then after that, of course, you have your body paragraphs. Oh, one more thing very important about intro is that on top of using the method to start, right? Method to hook readers. Okay, towards the end of the body, there's always a thesis statement, right? Okay, so think about what thesis statement to write also, right? Okay, then after that, we can quickly move on to your body para 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think it's just nice because 3 things you treasure. So maybe you want to write object number 1, what you treasure, number 2, what you treasure, number 3, what you treasure. So basically, body paragraph 1 will be about the first object, body paragraph 2 will be about the second object, and of course, body paragraph 3 will be about the third object. Okay, then lastly, conclusion. Maybe you want to think about how you want to end off. Do you want to use like maybe a summary of mood? You want to use like a lesson learned, a reflection, even a question, or even want to use a cliffhanger. Okay, so same thing, consider the methods as well. I think we've gone through some methods. If you're not sure, you can always refer back to our previous lecture slides for it. Okay. So then this is basically how you plan, maybe just generate some ideas and then you can straight away go into writing, right? Okay, so planning process shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. I think the planning part, okay, it's not straight. Maybe let me use a ruler. Okay, so this planning portion should not take more than 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so that means that leaves you with 50 minutes to write. Okay. All right. So that's basically like exam tips on how to do it. Then of course, treasure. When we talk about treasuring something, okay, like unpacking the question, right? So what does treasure mean to you? Okay, what's the definition of treasure when you treasure something? Okay, let's see the meaning. Okay, of course, treasure can be a noun also, like, all the golds and diamonds and all, treasures, right? That's a noun. But when it comes to do you treasure, so this one is definitely not the noun. So it's